but I think people got the idea. Thanks for your patience, John.
There are some things in life that you just can't live without. Now, whether it's a special piece of jewelry, a watch, or even your smartphone, you want it in working condition. At Fixology Repair, we are committed to restoring your pieces so that everything works or fits the way it ought to. Watch servicing, chain repair, and broken screen replacements are just a few of the services that we offer at our 2 locations, Mall of America and the Skyway in downtown Minneapolis. Please visit us at fixologyrepair.com or at FixologyMN on Twitter to learn more. Mention this ad and get a 10% discount on our services.
Yes, sir.
I've got a quick question as it relates to team chemistry and as it relates to coaching and your experience in observing all the different teams. It seems as if 2 years ago, when Scott Stevens was involved with the Wild, the team had a different chemistry. Mm-hmm. And I'm presuming you're talking about somebody that is a Hall of Famer, mm-hmm. multiple Stanley Cups, one of the best defensemen in the industry. And so then he can convey to the players, this is how it's done.
Yeah.
You know, typically coaches are several generations removed from the game. And when you have somebody like Scott Stevens in there that's fairly current, you know, his word is gold, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. I just thought I'd just interrupt you. I just reminded myself of that James Shepard line when Jacques Lemaire retired, quote unquote, and Todd Richards took over, and I asked James Shepard about it. He goes, "Well, it's just nice to have somebody that's played the game." And I'm like, "Hold on, right. I can't let this continue." Jacques a freaking Hall of Famer. Anyway,
there were twins who didn't know Paul Molitor played.
Yeah. So anyway,
sorry
to interrupt you.
It's that dynamic. You've got several generations that are removed from the game. It's the same game, but it's different.
Yeah.
And so, is there any money in the coffers to bring in a Scott Niedermayer or a Nicholas Lindstrom or somebody that
mm-hmm.
can bridge that gap? And is that truly, really effective?
Well, I mean, you know, Niedermayer's in Anaheim. Lidstrom's not coming unless he ever went. You know, if he ever came, it's going to be Detroit. They have the money. I mean, it's not. Trust me, it was money. I think Scott left for a lot of the reasons that we're seeing. I think he just kind of recognized a lot of it was family. Yeah. But I think he also recognized that this team has got some issues. You know, I think Bob Woods is a tremendous coach, and I think their blue line has been great, and he does the penalty kill, and it's been great. They have Darby Hendrickson there, who pretty much runs practice in terms of I mean, that's not fair. Dean Evison was a great player. So, yeah, I mean, if they want, they could add somebody that's maybe a little younger and closer to their age. And but they do have that in the organization. They purposely try to always have somebody that was a former player, young, like guys like Bomber and Andrew Burnett work with the younger prospects. But, you know, there are just Hall of Famers out there that are going to suddenly just want to show up in Minnesota and coach. Now, I'm sure they can go get if they want. But I think right now, at least, Paul's, like anything, looking at his coaching staff and figuring out, all right, is this the group I want? Starting with the head coach, starting with Bob Woods, starting with Darby Hendrickson, and even Bob Mason. You know, Dean Evison will be here. Dean's his guy.
And that doesn't always translate, right? I mean, just because.
Yeah, I mean, Wayne Gretzky is best player in history of the game, and he was a terrible coach.
Right. Is there examples in the NHL where that has kind of worked out, where
Larry Robinson, where in terms of
just kind of having that bridge of
well, I will say what you're saying. Every team does seem to have that new kind of young guy. I mean, you know, Rod Brind'Amour was growing up with the Carolina Hurricanes as a coach, now as their head coach. Doug Weight, we saw that. Scott Gomez is on the Islanders bench right now. I think he definitely was with Weight. So every team definitely is trying to get that guy that can relate better to this next generation. You know, Boudreau's in his 60s. I do agree with you that they probably look at him sometimes and like, you know, can't relate to exactly that. You know, they broke the mold with Bruce. And the next coach, if it's not Dean Evison, will probably be much younger than Bruce. So,
and I just want to say this question here cost me 4 slices of pizza that my buddy just ate off my plate. So.
Yeah, I get long-winded.
I have connections at Delano's that tell me that they will allow you to order another one.
Yeah.
It's a special deal just for you.
That's good stuff.
I will say these
Thanks for
pieces
being
look
here.
unbelievable.
I know they're great.
And they just
I love them.
plop them right in front of us.
Fantastic. Good question. Thank you.
John, haven't seen you in a while.
How are you?
It's been quite a
Good
while.
to see
you.
Busy, so
How
I'm
are
glad
ya?
to be back. So I brought my friend Fred. He's 92, and he used to take me to North Star
Round of
games.
applause for Fred.
Yeah.
Old-time hockey guy.
Born in 1926.
Yeah. So Fred used to take me to North Star games when we had season tickets to the North Stars when I was a kid.
Uh-huh.
And we were at Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Finals when we watched the North Stars lose to the Penguins. That was a big disappointment in our lives. Now, Fred, since his old age, has since gone blind, which might be the best way to watch the Wild these days. But
Well, you went a long way to set that up.
I did. But Fred's question is, he misses old-time hockey, and he wants to know which Wild player has the ability to separate the man from the puck and actually check somebody nowadays, because it's turned into a much softer, more European hocky game. He misses fights.
Yeah, I'm not saying the fights, but
He misses fights.
Yeah, it's a no-hitting league now. You're
Yeah.
right. It's again, last night in the neutral zone, there were some routes taken by both teams, and I'm like, oh my God, I cannot believe that these players skate this way, and there's not one part of them that even worries that they're going to get hit. Like you just mentioned Scott Stevens. What Scott would do to some of these guys in today's game, they'd never do it again.
They wouldn't be playing for weeks or months.
I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, and it's every one of them, and they all just peel up. It's just like your fair game, man. I remember what was it a couple of years ago. It was one of the greatest hits I've seen in a long time when Brad Marchand was skating into the offensive zone and PK Subban it was like a wall, just smacked Marchand. He was dazed and everything. And I was like, that is old-time hockey. And everybody thought that PK actually should have gotten a penalty. And I'm like, clean hit, just old-time hockey. So in terms of the Wild, I mean, Foligno, I think fair. Hopefully Greenway will get there one day. They don't have a Clutterbuck type guy anymore. But one guy that does it in a way that's not exactly the old-time big hit hockey, but I mean, is there anybody better than separating a guy from the puck than Parisi and protecting a puck than Parisi? So
is it just not a priority anymore, league-wide, or
it is. I think it's the European influence. It's I think a lot of it. I personally feel this is where I now sound like a dinosaur. But I personally feel it's the fraternization of these players during all these lockouts. They all became buddies. They all play together in World Cups. They all hang out together in the summers. They all know each other. I see them after games. And we're like, you hear stories from the Denny Potvins and the Bobby Clarks about what it was like to go to an All-Star game back in their day. They didn't speak to each other. Like Bobby Clark would have a stall next to Denny Potvin and not talk to him. And it's a different thing now, and I think that's part of it too. Is that remember the lockout in 2012 when they got up on stage in New York City and all the players are on stage together before Donald Fair, when he lied and said the lockout was ending the next day, and it was a bunch of crap. So that was in it was mid-December that year.
So what you're saying is we just need some animosity.
Well, I mean, I think that's just part of it. I think it's the European style. I do think it's the league trying to get rid of headshots, which I'm all for.
Absolutely.
I do think that they have that's why I will say, I am an apologist for the Department of Player Safety. I think they've done a great job. I don't want to see I covered Cam Stewart getting knocked out when he played with Florida, not Minnesota. Kevin Dineen elbowed him in Ottawa at the blue line, and I still, honestly, I tell Cam every time I talk to him on the phone. He's an agent these days. I tell him I still have that vision of you convulsing before you even hit your head on the ice, and I don't want to see those days anymore. And I think that the league has done a tremendous job of taking. That's why when Tom Wilson goes and elbows in the head, we all make a huge deal out of it because it's so rare in today's game. So I'm all for that. So I do think that people are erring on the side of caution. So I think all that together, headshots getting rid of, the lack of fighting in today's game, the European influence, the fraternization, the fact that these guys are all buddies, I think all that has led to the type of game that we see now.
I did miss the first 10 minutes of the podcast. Was that the first Florida reference?
I do think that
that might have been the first. I think he saved it for you.
I made a Florida
terrific.
reference on Barrero earlier today. Yeah. Is it the second today, or you heard the Barrero one? I did that. Barrero, I was like a minute in, but I didn't say Florida. I was just referring to it.
I guess it still counts. It's easy for us to recommend Tony Hoagland as an insurance agent because Michael and I both use Tony for our insurance. Check out Tony Hoagland, Hoaglund. Works out of Champlin, but he's very easy to work with no matter where you might be in the Twin Cities or in the state.
Hey, Minnesota sports fans. This is your local State Farm agent, Tony Hoagland. I need you all to ask yourselves this question. If you're in an at-fault car accident and you are sued for $700,000, how much of that $700,000 will my current insurance company pay? If you are unsure or can't answer all $700,000, you need to give us a call. State Farm has been number one in car insurance since World War II and number one in homeowners insurance since 1964. For a no-obligation review of your current policies, call us at 763-421-4900 or check out our website at www.champlininsurance.com.
Barb,
thanks for coming out.
That's my mom's name.
Yeah, I know it is. I wish I would have got a chance to see her when she was in town.
Oh, she would have loved to meet you.
Is she going to be?
She'll be back.
Back in town at all?
She's going to want to. She's going to. I'm building a house. She's going to want to help me build that house.
Okay.
And tell you where she'll be located.
Yeah. Sweet.
She'll. Did I tell the story on the last podcast when we were driving by? And,
yes.
Yeah, that one ticked me off. You guys have all heard that, right? So first thing she says to me when she first sees the house is that I'm going to regret it, which,
No, but do the mom voice.
Yeah, like, you're going to regret this. But anyway, no, the worst was, so the second time we were going back there, I decided to go into the community a different way. And we're driving by the community, and she looks and she goes, now that community, that's not a very pretty community. And I'm like, that's my community. And then it pretty much ruined the day.
Not that you ever let anything bother you.
The whole way. It wasn't like I was angry at her. I was like, maybe it's not a nice community. So anyway.
I'm just wondering what's different with Mikko this year. It seems like he's getting in the right spot to get those.
Save for last night. And the Buffalo game. But for the most part, it's funny how I can just I know right away that Buffalo game. I actually rewatched that Buffalo game not because I wanted to see the collapse. I wanted to make sure that I was right that Mikko had the worst game I think I've ever seen.
That's kind of sadistic. Yeah. I don't know if that's sadistic or masochistic.
I just want to make sure that if I write this, it's not going to. But you're right. He's been much better. Last year, defensively, he is somebody that where the analytic stats are really valuable to see how well he's playing. Because you definitely see when he's on the ice last season, I think we look at him sometimes because he wasn't scoring last year as well as he was 2 years ago, and that his face-offs were down. You just think he's always, he's being awful. And then you look at the numbers and you see how many, the lack of scoring chances, the lack of shot attempts, the lack of everything when he's on the ice, and it just shows you that he's still as good a shutdown a center as there is in the NHL. And this year he's been really good, and he's getting points. Last night, not very good. But nobody was last night, even Stahl and Granlund, who had 10 shots and a goal, they should have had 5 goals with what they were generating. Everybody seemed off, and last night they were playing without a left wing, if you know what I mean. Everybody knows what I mean, right? Yeah.
You can say it out loud if you want.
Zucker didn't have a good game.
Yeah.
So.
And so, what is going on with Zucker?
I don't know. It's concern. They need him to play well. Yeah. And I will say, those guys, Zucker, Niederreiter, and Coyle didn't have a point in the playoffs, and those 3 guys have not been good. And Zucker has not been nearly as good as he was during his career year last year. So I still have a lot of belief in him, but he's got to take care of the puck better. He's got to move his feet better. He's got to not lead odd man rushes. So.
Thanks for being here, Barb. We appreciate it. Yeah. Did Heather have a question too?
Heather was just the escort.
She's chaperoning. Okay.
Barb is. You might know Heather Rule. Heather Rule is one of the great freelancers in our area, both for the Star Tribune, for the Athletic, for a lot of outlets.
For pretty much everybody.
Yeah. She's going to have an awesome story on Tuesday on the Athletic. Actually, the way that things are going right now, so Zach Pierce is on paternity leave. So, like, say you, even though it's budgeted for Tuesday, if you file it on Monday, there's a chance it gets pushed Monday. Right now, it's like the people editing are just like pushing things like in a row. Like yesterday, I put like 8 stories in a row up, and I'm like, hey, we gotta hit timeout here. People gotta have a chance to read these stories. So, did I say all that out loud?
You said all that out loud, yeah. And we recorded.
Yeah.